Why did the Pilgrims come to the New World? Every time we get close to Thanksgiving Day, we sort of send our minds back to that first Thanksgiving at Plymouth Colony, and we remember the glorious scene of the Native Americans and the Pilgrims feasting together, and it's a good thing to remember, a better thing to give thanks. But when we focus so tightly on that particular day from that particular era, it's possible to lose sight of what they were doing there in the first place. You see, the Pilgrims didn't come to the New World on a vacation. They didn't come to the New World to find work. They came to the New World for that purpose that encompasses all that we have been made for. They came for the purpose of worshiping the living God. Their celebration, their Thanksgiving was not a wake-up call. It wasn't a shift or a change. It was the outworking of what and who they were. You may not know this, but the Pilgrims were dissatisfied with the Church of England, deeming it to be too much like the church at Rome and not likely to be redeemed. And so they gathered themselves together and they moved to originally the Netherlands, which had as an advantage that they practiced religious liberty. They didn't have to deal with the strictures imposed by the State Church of England while they were there. But it had as a disadvantage the reality that, things were not as morally pure, shall we say, there in the Netherlands. And so after moving there, hoping to enjoy this freedom, but finding while they were there that their children were not behaving well, not keeping the faith, as it were, they determined to risk still more, to cross the ocean, to establish a colony where there was none. I've been a church planter at different times in my life, and I can tell you one of the things that is pretty frustrating to the church planter is the often stubborn refusal of folks to be willing to cross town to go to church. I understand the principle. I understand that you don't want to belong to a church that you're so far away from the church members that you don't really have a shared life. But an unwillingness to cross town seems like falling off the other side of the horse. Well, here's a group of people who were so intent on being able to worship freely and being able to live together in community that they were willing not just to cross town, but to cross the ocean, and not just to cross the ocean, but to cross the ocean to go to a place where there was no one there like them. They risked everything so that they might go and worship the living God. But again, in their mindset, that's not a strange thing at all. It's a perfectly natural and normal thing for them to do. Difficult, yes. Hard, yes. And of course, that first winter, nearly half of them died. So how committed were they to their zeal to worship the Lord rightly? Committed enough to leave England to go to the Netherlands. Committed enough to leave the Netherlands to go to a new world. Committed enough to stay when half of their number passed away. And so when we come to the next season of harvest, and they have survived and they have made it, of course they're going to stop and praise and thank God and celebrate and rejoice. These are people who made sacrifices, but who understood that they received grace from God, and so they delighted to thank him.